They refused to believe she was a captain. That mistake cost them everything. The automatic doors slid open, and the rush of cool air conditioning hit as she stepped inside. The lobby was quiet, modern, sleek, a little too pristine. The kind of place where you could tell the chairs were meant to be looked at, not sat in. Captain Janelle Bryant adjusted the strap of her leather bag and walked toward the reception desk, her sneakers barely making a sound on the polished floor. It was her day off, but today wasn't about work. She was here for a scheduled meeting with the airline's executive board, discussing a long-overdue diversity initiative. She approached the desk, where a young woman in a navy blazer sat, typing away on a keyboard, nails clicking in quick succession. Janelle gave a polite nod, placing her airline ID on the counter. "Hi, I'm here for a meeting with..." The receptionist didn't even glance up. "Employees and visitors need to wait outside." Janelle blinked. I am an employee. I'm Captain Janelle Bryant, and I have a..." "Pilots enter through the restricted access side," the woman interrupted, still not looking up. "This area is for executives and staff." For a second, Janelle thought she had misheard. She was staff. She was more than staff. She was a senior captain with over a decade of flight experience. She let out a slow breath. "I know where the pilot entrance is, but I'm here as a guest for a meeting." She tapped her airline ID. "You can check the list. It should be under Bryant." The receptionist finally looked up, giving Janelle a once-over. A flicker of something, confusion, doubt, crossed her face. Then she pressed her lips into a thin line. "I'm sorry, but unless you're authorized, I can't let you in." Janelle felt a familiar weight settle in her chest. Before she could respond, movement caught her eye. Two pilots, both white, both dressed similarly in casual attire, strolled in behind her. "Hey, good morning," one of them said with a grin. The receptionist's face lit up. "Oh, Captain Reynolds, Captain Harris, you can head right in." She waved them through without even checking their names. Janelle turned to watch them disappear down the hallway. She turned back, keeping her voice steady. "I just saw you let them in without checking anything. Why am I being asked to wait outside?" The receptionist's smile tightened. "They've been here before. I recognize them." Janelle exhaled sharply. "I've worked for this airline for 11 years. The receptionist hesitated, but before she could say anything, a uniformed security guard approached. He was broad-shouldered, his expression unreadable. "Is there a problem?" he asked, looking directly at Janelle. She could feel it, the way the air in the room changed, the way people in the lobby were suddenly paying attention, but pretending not to. The security guard's presence wasn't a question. It was a warning. Janelle set her jaw. "No problem at all. I'm just trying to get to my meeting." "Ma'am," the guard said, "if you don't have the right clearance, I'm going to have to ask you to step outside." Her fingers curled around the strap of her bag. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to walk away, to let it go. But she was tired of letting it go. She locked eyes with the receptionist. "Check the list." The woman hesitated, then sighed dramatically before typing something into her computer. A beat passed. Another. Then, just like that, her face shifted, eyes widening slightly. Janelle could see it, the moment the receptionist realized she had made a mistake. She cleared her throat. "Oh, I see you here." Janelle waited. "You can go in." No apology, no acknowledgement, just a begrudging admission that she had been telling the truth all along. Janelle held her gaze for a moment longer, then grabbed her ID off the counter and walked through the doors without another word. But something inside her had shifted. She had spent years dealing with moments like this. The quiet slights, the questioning of her credentials, the subtle ways people made it clear she didn't belong. But this time, it wasn't going to be another moment she just walked away from. because this time she had proof. And this time she wasn't letting it slide. Janelle sat in the meeting room, her fingers lightly tapping the smooth surface of the table. The airline executives droned on about commitment to diversity, but she wasn't really listening. Her mind kept replaying the moment at the front desk, the look on that receptionist's face when she realized her mistake, the way the security guard had immediately assumed she was the problem. It wasn't new. It never was. She glanced at the window, her reflection staring back at her. Her crisp navy blazer, the gold wings pinned to her chest, the same uniform that had made her a target of doubt more times than she could count. Janelle had been flying for over a decade. Long before that, she had fought for every inch of space she occupied in this industry. She thought back to flight school. "Are you sure you're in the right class?" an instructor had asked her on her first day. The room had erupted in laughter, but she hadn't been laughing. Then there was the first time she walked into a cockpit as a co-pilot. The captain, an older white man, had done a double take. "Did you just graduate? You look a little green." She had been flying for 4 years at that point, and it didn't stop after she became a captain. If anything, it got worse. Passengers would second-guess her authority. Flight attendants would assume she was a junior crew member. Gate agents would ask if she was lost while she was walking to her own aircraft. Janelle had kept her head down, worked twice as hard, let the comments slide. But she never forgot. And she had been keeping track. She had a folder, years of notes, emails, recorded conversations, incidents, complaints, proof. The time she was passed over for a promotion, only to see it given to a pilot with less experience. The time a colleague casually joked, "They're only keeping you around so they can put you on the website." The time an executive at a company dinner called her the diversity hire to her face. She had smiled through it all, but she remembered every single one. And now, she wasn't just remembering. She was about to do something about it. Because what happened today wasn't just another moment. It was the last straw. Janelle kept her expression neutral throughout the meeting, nodding at the right moments, jotting down notes when expected. But inside, her thoughts were spinning. The executives spoke in broad, polished phrases, building a culture of inclusivity, expanding opportunities, creating a welcoming environment. Words that meant nothing when the reality was sitting right in front of them. Her phone vibrated quietly in her pocket. A text from another pilot she trusted. "Just heard what happened at the front desk. Unreal. You okay?" She inhaled slowly, tapping out a response. "I'm done letting this slide." Because that's what it had always been. Letting things slide. Letting people assume. Letting them question. Letting them doubt her, while she proved herself over and over again. But today was different. She had proof. The front desk security footage. The flight logs showing how few black women captains the airline actually employed. The reports from other pilots who had quietly shared their own experiences with her. This wasn't just about her. She opened her email and pulled up the draft she had been working on for months. A formal complaint outlining systemic discrimination within the airline. Names, dates, incidents. She had hesitated before, unsure of the consequences. But not anymore. Her finger hovered over the send button. Then she pressed it. Later that night, she sat in her apartment, scrolling through the responses. Some were quick, automated acknowledgements. Others were immediate attempts to dismiss her concerns. "We take all allegations seriously, but we regret that you feel this way. If you'd like to discuss this privately." They weren't taking her seriously. She stared at the emails, jaw tightening. They thought this would just disappear, that she would walk away like so many others before her. She picked up her phone and made a call. It's time to take this public. Because if they wouldn't listen to her behind closed doors, she would make sure the world heard her instead. And once the world was watching, they wouldn't be able to ignore it anymore. Janelle's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts, emails, missed calls. By the time she woke up the next morning, her story was everywhere. A journalist from a major aviation news outlet had picked it up. The headline was blunt, pulling no punches. Black female pilot denied entry at her own airline's office, told to wait outside while white colleagues walked in. She hadn't even had time to process the impact before her inbox exploded. Other pilots, some still employed, some long gone, started reaching out. This happened to me too. I was pushed out after I complained. I have proof. Where can I send it? And then, the stories from the passengers started pouring in. I remember feeling relieved when I saw a white pilot taking over from a black one. I hate that I thought that way. I watched a flight attendant question a black pilot once while letting her white co-pilot through without a word. It made me sick. Janelle sat back, phone in hand, pulse pounding. She had known the airline had issues, but she hadn't expected the flood of whistleblowers, former employees, even customers adding their voices. And just like that, the airline's carefully curated image of diversity and progress started cracking. By midday, the airline had released its first statement. We are conducting an internal review regarding recent allegations. We remain committed to diversity, inclusion, and fairness. It was weak, generic, the kind of statement that meant nothing. And it didn't work. The pressure didn't ease. It built. Stockholders started asking questions. Passengers demanded refunds. Flight crews refused to stay silent. Then, one of the biggest newspapers in the country published an investigative report. Buried discrimination complaints. Pay gaps between white and black pilots. A pattern of internal retaliation against employees who spoke up. Janelle read every word. She had lived it. And now everyone else saw it too. The executives, the ones who had brushed her off so easily, were now scrambling. Damage control mode. By the end of the week, she got a call from a very nervous HR representative. Captain Bryant, we'd love to have a conversation. We value your perspective. Janelle almost laughed. You had a chance to listen before, she said. Now you'll listen in court. Because this wasn't just a PR problem anymore. This was about to become a legal disaster. The airline tried to fight back. Their legal team scrambled, pushing out carefully worded statements about misunderstandings and isolated incidents. They brought in diversity consultants, made public pledges, even flashed photos of their one black executive at every opportunity. But none of it worked. The lawsuits had already been filed. Janelle wasn't the only plaintiff. Former pilots, flight attendants, ground crew, all stepping forward with their own receipts. Pay disparities, promotions denied, complaints swept under the rug, and then, the final blow, a leaked internal email, a message sent between two senior executives, mocking the backlash. Let her scream into the void. This will blow over like it always does. It didn't. The email went viral. News anchors dissected every word. Social media erupted. Stock prices tanked. Corporate sponsors pulled out. Passengers cancelled flights. And then, one morning, the CEO, the same man who had ignored Janelle's complaints for years, resigned. Effective immediately. But it was too late. The airline's reputation was already in freefall. One by one, investors started cutting ties. The company's board tried to restructure, but the damage was too deep. Months later, the inevitable happened. A headline that sent shockwaves through the aviation industry. Major U.S. airline files for bankruptcy amid discrimination scandal. The company that had once dismissed Janelle, tried to silence her, erase her, was now gone. But she wasn't done yet. She hadn't fought for this just to watch another airline repeat the same mistakes. She had bigger plans. Janelle stood at the front of the conference hall, scanning the room. The faces looking back at her weren't just black. They were Latina, Asian, indigenous. Men and women, young and old. Some were fresh out of flight school, eyes full of hope. Others had been in the industry for years, carrying the same battle scars she did. She took a deep breath and smiled. I spent years believing that if I just kept my head down, worked twice as hard, and proved myself over and over again, things would change. She let the words settle before continuing. But I learned the hard way that silence doesn't fix broken systems, and that when one of us speaks up, we give others the courage to do the same. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. This wasn't just a speech. It was the launch of something bigger. With the money from the lawsuit settlement and the support of other pilots, Janelle had co-founded an aviation diversity initiative. Not a PR stunt, not a corporate checklist, a real program. One that provided scholarships, mentorships, and legal protection for underrepresented pilots. One that held airlines accountable. One that made sure no black pilot would ever have to fight to be seen as worthy again. She looked out at the crowd, faces filled with determination, hope, power. "We didn't just bring down an airline," she said. "We changed the industry. And we're just getting started." The applause was deafening. And for the first time in a long time, Janelle felt something she hadn't let herself believe in before. Not just justice, but real, lasting change. How many times have you seen injustice and thought, that's just the way things are? That's what they count on. That we'll let it go. That we'll move on. But when we speak up, when we demand better, we force change. If you've ever been in Janelle's shoes, or seen something wrong and stayed silent, this is your reminder. Your voice matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.